There's any questions, they can feel free to ask. All right, YouTube, what's going on? We're fucking doing it. I actually wanted to take today, and we're gonna talk about college for a little bit. So I wanted to talk about college and just how my experience has been, and what some people can look into, or what they can expect with college. So this is especially coming from the point of a STEM major, which is what I am. STEM is anyone that's within like the science field that has like within the science field that like does something such as like engineering and stuff of that sort. I just so happen to be an electrical engineer. Um so let's just get down to it. Like I said, if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to ask me at any point. So for one, I wanted to talk about what you can expect, especially as a commuter. Like this is coming a lot from my experiences rather than the experiences of like what you can expect. For me as a computer, as a computer, as a commuter, I feel like you can just definitely expect to struggle to find friends a little bit more. So I definitely feel like it's important for you to go out and try your best to make some friends, especially within your field. Like as a STEM major, it's very important for you to have friends within your field because it's important for them to help back you up while you're doing work. It's important for you to have friends that like know what they're doing and you know what you're doing. So like, maybe you're struggling on an assignment and you can hit somebody up and be like, "Hey, can you help me with this? I'm just not understanding." Like I've had plenty of problems where like I code because I'm in electrical engineering. So with coding, I have had issues and experiences where like I had no idea what was going on and no idea how to do what I was doing. Um, and I struggled and struggled and struggled. And I know it can be embarrassing to go to your teacher, so that's why a lot of times you go to your friends first. And so it helps a lot to have your friends there that you can just hit them and be like, "Hey, man, I don't understand what the fuck's happening. I don't understand what this is. Can you help me out and just like walk me through like how you did yours? Not necessarily give you the answers because I don't recommend that, especially for coding and a lot of other work. When you're just copying answers verbatim, a lot of professors can catch you, and that's not good. Um, to ask somebody how they did it, or what they did during their assignment, is a whole other story. And like your professor's gonna be like, "Well, no working together, this is supposed to be your work." But at the end of the day, you're just using the resources that are there with you. Like, don't advertise it to your teacher. "Oh yeah, I had Johnny over here help me do my work." And they're gonna be like, "Well, Johnny shouldn't have been fucking doing anything for you." um so it is very important to make sure that you have friends to have your back. Another thing, especially with STEM, get ready for it. STEM's fucking hard. Um, it's definitely hard. You're gonna struggle a little bit, and that's okay. You're supposed to struggle. The best way that I can explain to you to look at your STEM major for is to look at it as if you're going through a stress test. They're testing you to make sure that you have the wherewithal to do the job that you're setting out to do. Because a lot of what you're going to learn is in field, and you'll even see that because a lot of colleges um do require you to take an internship of some sort. Luckily, with engineering internships and a lot of other STEM field internships, you do get paid, and they actually do pay actually pretty well. Most of the time, at least. Some of them, if you're not doing well in school and whatnot, they're not gonna pay you shit. But if you're keeping a decent enough GPA, they'll pay you from typically the pay range right now, from what I'm understanding, is anywhere from $14 to $25, which is a wide range. If you're doing really good and you're really competitive within your field, you can be on that $25 end. A lot of people will sit from the 18 to 20 range. 18 to 22 is about average. $20 is a really good place to be, even 18 really, but because you're an intern. And that's one thing that you definitely need to understand, that you're an intern and take what you can get, especially if you're getting paid. Take it over the summer and whatnot. So that's one thing that I can recommend. So we talked about friends, we talked about internships a little bit, and we talked about the stress that it's going to put you through. Be prepared. You're gonna feel overwhelmed. It's overwhelming for sure, but I promise it's worth it. And that feeling that you get when you get through it is definitely worth it. And I don't mean to stress anyone out that's going into their freshman year of college or whatever else, but I know from my experiences I was very stressed out doing my field. Um my first semester went fine. My second semester I struggled a little bit, and it was my sophomore year. There is a thing, it especially happens within football. Um it's a term called the sophomore blues. Be prepared for that. That's real. You're gonna hit it. It's gonna happen. Um that's just one thing that I can recommend that you prepare for. The sophomore blues is hard. And it could hit you at any point really. Um it might have happened to you in high school. I know it didn't really happen for me in high school, which is why like I don't know. I just kind of fell off my sophomore year. And it happens. Don't also one thing that I can say, don't be afraid to fail. If you fail a class, it is what it is. In all honesty, you will, it looks like you don't have time, but you will have time to make it up. You'll have time to make up that class, I promise you. So don't worry about it. It'll be okay. You'll be okay. Um, and just make sure that you're not failing every class. And like your first year, try your best, do what you can, and sometimes you need to be real with yourself and look yourself in the eye and say, "Man, is this field for me?" And as an engineer, I promise you, you're going to have that conversation with yourself way more than you're going to be comfortable with. I have that conversation with myself just about once a semester, if not more. Um So be prepared for that. Be prepared to know that, man, I'm going to question and doubt myself for this field a lot. And that's completely okay. It's okay to question yourself. It's okay to doubt yourself, just as long as you keep pushing through. And sometimes you do need to be real with yourself and say, you know what? This isn't for me. You're failing every class, and I'm not talking mid-semester. When you need to start sweating, it's end of semester. Keep on top of your work. Do your best. If you fail an exam or something, as long as you're like not failing like zero type of failing, like getting a zero on the exam, and you're getting like a 50 or so, you'll be okay because there's more work. There's a lot of times project. Check your syllabus. Check your syllabus is one thing that I can recommend, because your syllabus typically has your grade outline, which is very important. 5% typically goes to attendance. The professor can put like 5 to 20% is homework. You know what I mean? So if you're doing bad on the exams, make up for it everywhere else. Make sure you're going to class. I can guarantee almost every engineering professor requires you to be there. Um, Not necessarily in person because of COVID and whatnot, but every engineering professor will require you to be in class in some way, shape, or form. And I know for a lot of you engineering students that are in right now, that are listening right now, um, COVID did put a big hurt on a lot of us, and that's okay. It's okay to know that COVID affected us and affected our grades. That's okay. Um, and it's really okay that, maybe you took a pass fail here, or maybe you failed a class. You know what I mean? It's COVID. Take it easy on yourself. Your employers will take it easy on you too. It is what it is. You're getting half of the education that you should be. And especially in this field where they're already trying to cram as much into you as possible, like you're taking essentially a 5 to 6 year course in 4 years, and you need to be real with yourself that that's hard. You're going through a lot. So be real with yourself and understand that, you know what, I failed this class and I struggled, especially with COVID, because they switched up what I was doing. It's not what I'm comfortable with. I'm not with my friends anymore. And I can't communicate and I feel very isolated, because I went through that. I felt very isolated and I felt like I just couldn't talk to any of my friends that I usually did, that would help me out a lot. And I felt like that was important, that like you should be talking to your friends, like I stated earlier. So I struggled with a lot of work, and the people that I was talking to, like, they were struggling too, and it's just like a lot of people didn't know what was going on. So that brings me to my next topic of, I mentioned before that it's hard to go to your professor, but I'll tell you what, that's one of the first things. Like, if your friends don't know, if it's a quick fix and you know, like, I'm stuck on this one part and I just need a buddy, like, that's all I need, go to your friend. But if you're like stuck on a project that's like your butthole's in a fucking decimal point type of clenching, that kind of shit, go to your professor, really. Like, if you're not even midway through your project and you've hit a stopping point and you've hit a point where you're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, I don't know how to do that. And I've had that with some of my projects where I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I don't know what the fuck this is. If that happens to you, go to your professor. Go to your professor during their office hours, or their TA. Go to their TA. I've gone to the TA plenty, and I know the TA can be a lot more comfortable because they're somewhere closer to your level, and you feel like you can talk to them better. So go to them, and they might just tell you, go to the professor. That's all I can recommend, because, man, this is a problem, and I don't understand how the fuck you got yourself into it. Okay? Um, so yeah. That's one thing that I can recommend. Go to your professor. They're there to help you. Some of your professors can be a little mean, can be a little rough, but especially in the engineering field, it happens a lot where it'll happen and you'll see it in the engineering field, where, or the STEM field as a whole. Um you'll see it where your professor knows so much that it's so easy for them that they don't explain it enough. If that's the case, you either need to A, go do the work yourself and learn how to fucking do it, which is what I typically do because I'm a shy antisocial freak. But the other recommendation that I can make is that you need to talk to your professor, like, even in class. Be like, hey professor, can you run through that one more time and explain to me what just happened and why that happened? It's okay to do that. It's okay to ask your professor, like, I did not understand a word of what you just said. Please run it back. And they will, most of them. Or some of them might ask you, hey, come see me in my office hours. And it's not a bad thing. What's going on, man? We're talking about college a little bit. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Um, so really, like, go talk to your professor. It's important. It's important for you and your professor to be on the same page of, like, I do not know. And some professors may think like the class is doing fine, this and that, because nobody's asking questions, because a lot of us are very antisocial. And you need to talk to your professor a little bit and, like, maybe even explain to them, like, hey, um nobody knows what's going on. What's up, my slime? Nothing much. We're talking about college, and I'm talking about my experiences so that some people can, um, like, get a little bit of a judgment over what they should be doing during college. Um, so as I was saying though, your professors might think the class understands everything, and, like, really the class might not know anything that's going on. And you might be cramming but right before an exam to try and understand what's happening, and that happens. Another thing that I can recommend is sometimes, especially during midterms and finals weeks, you need to be real with yourself and be like, all right, I've got 3 exams on the same day, or I've got 2 exams on the same day, and they're back to back. I need to focus on one. I need to focus on one, and I need to pass that one. Um, be real with yourself. Which class am I doing better in? Which class should I take the L in? Or which class do exams not matter the most in? Sometimes you're gonna take an L. Sometimes you're gonna take an L on an exam. You're gonna get a 50. You're gonna get 50s on exams. What is that in the background? There's nothing really in the background. I don't have much. It's like my Xbox and my shelf and stuff. So yeah, like I said, just be real with yourself from time to time and just be like, all right, am I gonna what am I gonna take the L on? Let's be fair here. And then sometimes you might also think like, man, I do not know what's going on in this class. Is cramming for the next 3 days for this exam really gonna help? Or should I just focus on the exam that I'm gonna do really good in to boost my GPA a little bit more? It's something to think about. Um, Try your best on every exam for sure. But understand that some of the exams you're just not gonna do well on. Some of them, I can tell you, I work slow. I work very slow when it comes to exams and writing and whatnot. There are gonna be plenty of exams. Hey, been here, just had to throw out the garbage. Thank you so much. How are you? I'm doing good. I'm just talking about college for a little bit. Um, so what was I saying though? So yeah, there's gonna be exams that you're just gonna do garbage on, but it does help a lot to it does help a lot just to sit down and talk to your friends or talk to other people in the class, even if they're not necessarily your friends, because people are willing to talk, especially about grades. If they did bad, if you're like, hey man, how'd you do on that exam? I did shit. And they'll be like, dude, I did shit too. I got like a 40. And you'll be like, dude, I got like a 30. And it'll make you feel better that like other people didn't do as well, and it makes you realize like, man, maybe there's going to be a curve on this. And a lot of times there is. A lot of times there's a curve on the class or there's a curve on something else. So don't stress yourself out too much about it. Understand that you need to try your best, and understand that a lot of times if you're trying your best, you're going to be doing enough. Um so speaking from a commuter standpoint, I do understand that a lot of times as a commuter, you will feel very isolated. You feel like you're not making as many friends. Other people are talking to each other uh all the time, and you just feel like you don't know anyone as well as they know you, or you don't know anyone as well as they know each other. And that's okay. And that's okay. You need to understand that like, hey, I'm a commuter. I'm saving money, which is what I did. I go to a school that's like 10 miles away from me, maybe a little bit more, and I commute just because that's simpler for me. It was the cheaper option. And sometimes you really need to be real with yourself. Like we see all these movies every like year. There comes some movie where they're like, I need to get $50,000 to go to college, and it's like, because they're going to be staying on campus, and like everyone knows that like can't living on campus is the big college experience, but in all reality you might not have the money for that. I know I didn't. So be real with yourself and say like, hey, I can't live on campus, I need to find somewhere close to me, and maybe you can find like a slightly less involved college, or like or a slightly lower college that you can go to and live on campus, and by all means, if you want to do that, do it. um I do know that the STEM field as a whole is very small, so it can be hard for you to find a place. For you to find a place that goes up to your degree that you're looking for. A lot of colleges offer it. Like I live on the West Coast. I live in Connecticut, so like there was a bunch of places that I could have gone to, but some of them are miserable. I know. I think it's University of Hartford is pretty bad. Um, like just because it feels very much like a dungeon. um and then there's like University of Vermont, University of New Hampshire. I got i got a couple recommendations for University of Vermont and New Hampshire, but I decided to stay local and keep in Connecticut, which is fine. UConn has a very good program. UConn is Connecticut state school, so they're gonna be really good. uh but also like be prepared to not get into the colleges you necessarily want to go to. It happens, and maybe you don't have the GPA, maybe you don't have the what's it called, the I can't think of the name of it. SAT scores. It is what it is. Take your SAT multiple times if you have to. I think I got like I only took it once, which is kind of dumb of me, but I really just didn't want to fucking take it again because I don't test well to begin with. I never have and I never will. I think I got like I think I either got like an 1190 or a 1290. I got something with a 90. I was like 10 points away from getting a really good score. Um, and so I was just like, with that, I'll be fine. I don't care. Um, Also, follow your scholarships a little bit. Wherever your wherever your scholarship's best at, maybe you think about going there, because if you can get a full ride somewhere, do it. Don't sit yourself down with a bunch of debt, and try your best to not have too much debt coming out of college. Um, and then I really just want to talk about professors for a few minutes. Professors as a whole can be difficult. In all honesty, professors can be very difficult to deal with. Some of them can be mean, some of them can be like I said before, some of them are just too smart for their own good when it comes to teaching, and they'll say shit. They'll be like, "Oh, so you just do this and this and this and this and this, and you're done. This is the easiest thing in the world." And for you, you're like, "I don't know what any of what you just did was." And it happens. It'll happen in the science field, and it'll happen a lot in the STEM field, math and STEM, just all of that. Be prepared for that, and be prepared to ask questions. Also be prepared for some professor to just be mean or not know what they're doing. I've had plenty of that. You'll get PowerPoint professors where all they do is just teach off of the PowerPoint for hours on end, and then they give the hardest exams. Some of them teach off the PowerPoint, and then the test is on the book or the homework. Do your homework. Do your homework. The homework is key, because the more you do your homework, the more you understand the homework, the better off you will be. I promise. In almost every class, homework is key. Um, for your gen eds, do your best to take the easiest class. For the STEM fields, understand that there aren't a lot of professors because there aren't a lot of students. Not a lot of people want to get into the STEM field, and if they do, a lot of them will drop out pretty early. So be prepared for that. You're gonna be stuck with your set time for about for about my last 2 years, so this year and last year, and like parts of my other 2 years. I have had points where I don't pick my classes. I don't pick the times that I take my classes. I am told this is the time that the class is, and this is when you will take the class if you plan on registering for it. And you need to take that class, so you need to figure something out because you're going to be there at that time. And that's that. Like, that's just the way that goes. And that's okay. That's okay. You're going to need to deal with it. It creates some hectic fucking schedules. Like, this semester alone, I go to class around 1. I think it's 12:45. I go to class at 12:45. So it's an hour and 15 minutes. So 12:45 to 2, and then, or 12, is it? I believe, yeah, it's 12:45 to 2. So you go 12:45 to 2, and then I have a 2-hour break. I'm a commuter. I can't just go back to my fucking dorm. So I'm stuck on campus for 2 hours, because that's when my next class is. If I had like a 3 or 4 hour break, I'd go home, because I don't want to fucking sit on campus for 4 hours, and that's frustrating and annoying, and I don't want to do that. But to sit on campus for 2 hours, it's a little bit more justifiable. And then after that, so I have class from, I believe it's like, I think it starts at like 3:55, 3:55 or 4. I go from then until about 5. And then after 5 o'clock, I have another class at 7 to 10 p.m. Be ready for that. That's a realistic schedule. That is a real fucking schedule that you're gonna need to put up with. It is what it is. It's what you're gonna need to do. And it's just because, yeah, Kyle just hates STEM majors, because there isn't enough of us, and we don't make enough money for them because we're expensive. Our facilities are very expensive, because a lot of facilities will have 3D printers, will have workshops and whatnot, and so we cost a lot of money, where like you'll have English majors and whatnot, which cost a lot less money, and they can spend more money on professors and whatnot. Where like us, you need to spend good money on a good professor, otherwise, your students are going to know what the fuck they're doing and they're just going to drop out. Real numbers. Let me see this really quick. I'm going to look this up. Sorry. I want to look up United States college dropout rate. The average retention rate in American higher education institution is 71%. Of the 57% of students who do not complete four-year college within 6 years, 33% drop out. So only 57% of you are going to make it through, within 6 years. Try your best to make it out in 4 years. If you make it out in 4 years, you're saving a lot of money. You're saving a lot of money. Because each semester is a couple grand. It could be anywhere up to like $30,000. So you really need to be on top of it and on top of your work. You don't want to spend extra time there. That being said, if you're like a class or two behind and you know it, take a summer class. Summer classes help. Summer classes are a lot easier because it lets you zone in on one class and you're only focusing on that one class. It's unfortunate because you're giving up a little bit of your summer break, but it's justifiable. You're happier with yourself. You really are. I've taken 2 or 3 summer classes just because it lightens my load a little bit more. And I'll be honest, I failed a couple classes. I failed 2 or 3. I think I failed 2. Actually, I'll be real. I think I failed 3 classes, but 2 of them were connected. So if I failed one, I failed the other. It was a lab, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count really. But yeah, I've failed 2 classes. It was actually, I've never failed a class in my field, which is good. I've failed gen eds, but they were pretty hard gen eds. I took it was electromagnetism and fiber optics, which is a physics course, and higher physics I'm not very good at. Higher physics I'm not excellent at. And then I also failed Calc 3 is what I failed. Calc 3, just very difficult. It also helped that I just wasn't there for it. Like, I wasn't paying enough attention. It was during my sophomore year that I was taking Calc 3, and so I fucked myself on it. I really did. And so it's something that, like, I just feel like you really need to pay attention to. So be ready for all of that. Be ready to put up with all of that. And be ready to take some summer classes. I took one of them I was able to make up during the year. I was able to take Calc 3 again during my semester, so I didn't need to pay for it over the summer. Physics 2, which is electromagnetism and fiber optics, I took over the summer just because it's a longer course, takes up too many credits, so I had to take it over the summer. And I will tell you, when I took it over the summer, it was a million times easier. Another thing also, this is where professors come into play. Professors are very important when it comes to certain classes like this, especially more difficult classes. The higher difficulty you get, the more important your professors are. So I had a professor that it mattered a lot to him about it. I had a professor for like my physics lab, and he was just tough. You could do everything right and he'd fucking hate you. He'd hate your guts. So you're gonna have professors that like you try your best to do everything right. One week it's right, one week it's wrong. If that's the case, try your best, push through, do what you can, talk to the people that are doing good in the class and see what they're doing that you're not. We're gonna talk about this one on the DL a little bit. Oh fuck. All right, I stopped recording, but it's okay. I started recording again. I'm gonna keep. No, don't do that. Don't do that. We'll just keep that there. That was unfortunate. Uh, I'll just mesh these two videos together. Another thing that I wanted to talk about. Uh, there are certain sites that you can go on that give you answers. These sites are super helpful for your homework and understanding your homework. One of them is Slader. I don't recommend Slader as highly. The other one is Chegg. Chegg, fucking phenomenal. I love the shit out of Chegg. Um, don't use it for your exams. That's cheating. Don't copy what they're doing verbatim for your homework. That's cheating. If you need help double checking your work, if you need help maybe understanding a problem or two, do it. And then they're great for helping you with your study guide, because you see, especially if it has very highly rated answers, you'll see it. It'll have like, 4.9, 5 stars or whatever, and it's got like, 30 thumbs up. That's an answer that you can bank on a little bit. So that's a question that you're going to look at and you're going to be like, okay, so I want to see how this is done and how it's done properly rather than the way that I've been doing it, which might be a little bit more difficult. Some of them, they might be very highly rated, but at the same time, they're going to be a little bit weird because it's not going to be exactly the way your professor did it. So maybe find a different answer, because there's multiple answers to the same question, done different ways, done by different people. So be ready for that. Be ready to use Chegg. Chegg's $15. It's the best $15 that you can spend in your life, because it will save you a lot of time studying rather than like looking over the professor's work and trying to understand what the fuck he did. You'll see it, and a lot of times the Chegg people will like put them down like proper, and it'll be good. They'll put it down so you'll see step by step, and it'll help a lot for understanding how to do the problems that you're doing. I need to take a drink. So we talked about commuters, we talked about professors, we talked about Chegg. Chegg, important. Chegg, if you're hearing this, I'll take a sponsorship. So yeah, I think it's very helpful at this point where we are in our economy. I do think it is almost imperative that you go to some form of after school type of thing. Meaning like after high school you do something, whether it be tech school. Tech school is very good. I work with electricians right now in my internship. They're very good. They're good at what they do. Go to a tech school, learn. And who knows, maybe you'll get picked up by somebody and they'll be very impressed, and they'll ask you, you'll get picked up by a good engineer and they'll ask you for your input, and they'll know that you know what you're doing. We have plenty of those at where I'm working. They're really good at what they do, and their input is without a doubt some of the most important stuff that we do at our office. And I'm actually learning what they do. So it's important. When it comes to building and everything, just because it works theoretically does not mean it will work in person. Does not mean it will work real world. That's very true with electrical, and I'm sure it is very true with mechanical and other stuff. So if your techs or whoever else you're working with are telling you, hey, this does not work, listen to them. And you can have a back and forth. Don't be afraid to talk to them and be like, well, I think it would work because of this and this and this, and I have this set out. So and then they'll be like, okay, yeah, but you need to remember this and this, and they'll explain it to you and why it's not working. And then you can ask them, be real, be like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why you're saying that. Please explain further on why my schematic does not work. And I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear why this does not work properly. Be ready to learn at any point in your life. This is good advice at any point in your life. Be ready to fucking learn. You should be learning at every point in your life, and don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to learn at your internship. Don't be afraid to learn in high school or in college. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm too dumb, I don't understand. And you're not actually saying that you're dumb, but don't be afraid that I don't understand. That's a great term to use. I don't understand, please explain. 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, your professor, your TA, your boss, whoever it is willing to teach you, is willing to show you this is what's wrong with it. This is why it's not working. So that's my advice for college. Like I said, try your best in every class, no matter what. Try your best. Sometimes you'll get a nice easy class and you'll be able to coast. That's fine. But if it's a difficult class and you're really struggling and you feel like your grades are bad and your exam results have not been good, don't stress. As long as you're doing your homework, you're doing well on the projects, you are showing up to class, your grade will balance out. You might get a C, you might get a C plus. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll squeak out a B plus. You'll squeak out anywhere up to an A, even. You know, even if you're getting 50s on the exams, or it's 50s, 60s on the exams, don't be afraid. You could still be doing phenomenal in the class. I've done it. I've failed an exam very hard, gotten like a 40 on it, passed with like an A minus. It happens. Be ready for it. It's good. Don't worry about it. STEM field is wild like that. You can fail 3 exams in a row and, just do fucking great on the projects and shit. Like I said, as long as you're not getting zeros on the exam, as long as you're getting marks on the exam, you'll be good. Like, 50% is not something to be afraid of. You want to be doing better than that. You want to get a better grade than that, for sure. But if you're getting a 50 and everyone else is getting, 40 to 60, you're doing great. You're doing great, honestly. If everyone else is doing that bad, then realistically, you just need to be doing good on homework, and you need to be doing good on homework and projects. So try your best in every class. Definitely. I know for COVID and whatnot, a lot of people feel like they were not getting the education that they should have. It is what it is. Secondly, or thirdly at this point, be prepared for any type of professor. Sometimes you'll get a real good professor that really keeps you engaged, and that's important to have. With the STEM field, you will not have options, so you're going to need to put up with every type of professor. Every professor. You can't avoid them. That's just the way it is. You cannot avoid your professors. You can't avoid any of them. It's going to be what it's going to be. You're going to get who you're going to get, and that is what it is. Don't be afraid to deal with that. Don't be afraid because your professor has like a 60 or has like a 6% on Rate My Professor. It's not going to matter. I barely use Rate My Professor. Rate My Professor does not help me in any way, shape, or form because I've had professors that have like a 50% score that I think are the best professors in the fucking school. Really. And I've had other professors who, they're super. If the professor's got a 5 out of 5, you're good. You're probably good. They'll warn you of like what you need to be prepared for, but a lot of times, for the STEM field, at least from my perspective, Rate My Professor has never helped me. After that, make friends. Make a lot of friends. Talk to your friends. Help your friends, and they'll help you. That's another very, very important one. And, I think most importantly, don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to try your best. So that's all I've got to say on college for now. If anyone comes in and they've got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you so much for everything. YouTube, I'll see you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.